Can my employer refuse to give me breaks at work? Imagine this. You've been standing on your feet for 6 straight hours, ringing up customers, stocking shelves, or flipping burgers. Your back aches, your stomach growls, and you ask your supervisor when you can take a break. The answer? We don't do breaks here. If you don't like it, you can leave. That response can feel unfair, even cruel, and it leads to a serious question. Can your employer legally refuse to give you breaks at work? The answer depends on where you live and what kind of break you're talking about. Federal law under the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, sets some rules, but it doesn't guarantee meal or rest breaks. States like California and New York add their own protections, while others, like Texas, have almost none. In this video, we'll break down what federal law requires, how state laws differ, and what you can do if your employer denies you time to rest. Federal law. The FLSA and breaks the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, governs minimum wage, overtime, and hours worked. But here's the surprising truth. The FLSA does not require employers to provide meal or rest breaks. Employers are not obligated under federal law to give you lunch or coffee breaks. However, if employers choose to provide short breaks, typically 5 to 20 minutes, those must be counted as paid work time. If you take a 15-minute coffee break, your employer must pay you for that time. On the other hand, bona fide meal periods, usually 30 minutes or more, do not need to be paid as long as you are completely relieved of work duties. Example, a call center worker is allowed 2 15-minute breaks a day. Those must be paid. If they take a 30-minute unpaid lunch, but their boss requires them to keep answering phones, that lunch must legally be paid. State laws, wide variation across the U.S. Because federal law doesn't mandate breaks, states fill the gap. Some states require both meal and rest breaks, while others are silent. California requires a 30-minute unpaid meal break if you work more than 5 hours, and a second meal break if you work more than 10. Also requires 10-minute paid rest breaks for every 4 hours worked. New York requires at least a 30-minute meal break for shifts over 6 hours that extend past the noonday meal period. For factory workers, stricter rules apply. Oregon requires 30-minute meal breaks for shifts over 6 hours and 10-minute paid rest breaks every 4 hours. Colorado requires 30-minute meal breaks for shifts over 5 hours plus 10-minute rest periods. Texas. No state law requiring meal or rest breaks. Workers there rely only on federal standards which do not mandate breaks. Example, a warehouse worker in California denied both meal and rest breaks can file a wage claim and may be entitled to penalty pay for each day a break was missed. A similar worker in Texas may have no state claim at all. Industries with special rules. Some industries have unique break requirements. Healthcare workers, nurses and caregivers often must get uninterrupted meal breaks, but enforcement varies. Truck drivers. Federal Department of Transportation rules require rest periods for safety. Youth workers. Under federal child labor rules, minors may have more stringent break requirements in certain states. Example, a long-haul truck driver must take a 30-minute rest break after 8 hours of driving, regardless of employer policy. That's a federal safety requirement, separate from FLSA rules. Penalties for missed breaks in stronger states. States that mandate breaks also impose penalties for violations. California. For each workday an employer fails to provide a meal or rest break, the employee is owed 1 additional hour of pay. Oregon. Employers who deny required breaks may face fines and back pay. New York. Workers can file complaints with the Department of Labor for missed meal breaks. Example, a retail worker in Los Angeles works 8 hours without a break. The employer must pay 1 extra hour of wages as a penalty. Over time, this can add up to thousands in owed pay. when denying breaks may be illegal retaliation. Even in states without mandatory break laws, denying breaks may become illegal if it overlaps with retaliation or discrimination. If workers request breaks as a disability accommodation under the ADA, employers must comply. Nursing mothers are entitled under federal law to reasonable unpaid break time to express breast milk for 1 year after childbirth. Employers must also provide a private space, not a bathroom. If an employer denies breaks to punish workers for raising safety concerns, that may be unlawful retaliation under OSHA. Example: an employee with diabetes requests short breaks to check blood sugar. Denying those breaks may violate the ADA union contracts and employer policies. Even if not required by law, many union contracts guarantee rest and meal breaks. In unionized workplaces, employers must honor collective bargaining agreements. Non-union employers often provide breaks as a matter of policy, but if they put those breaks in the handbook, they are typically required to follow their own rules. Example: a unionized factory agreement guarantees 2 paid 15-minute breaks. If management skips those breaks, workers can file grievances. Real-world cases. Case 1, California. Walmart paid millions in settlements for failing to provide meal and rest breaks required by state law. Case 2, Oregon. A fast food chain was fined after investigators found workers were regularly denied legally required 30-minute meal breaks. Case 3, Federal. A nursing mother successfully sued her employer for failing to provide break time and a private pumping space under federal law. Case 4, Texas. Workers denied breaks had no state law to rely on, but still won back pay when employers failed to pay for short rest breaks that were counted as work time. Practical steps for workers. 1. Check state law. See if your state requires meal or rest breaks. 2. Track your hours. Keep notes on when you worked and whether breaks were provided. 3. Review your handbook. If breaks are promised, employers must honor them. 4. No special protections. Nursing mothers, workers with medical needs, and minors often have additional rights. 5. File complaints if necessary. State labor boards or the U.S. Department of Labor can enforce violations. Example: a cashier in New York consistently denied meal breaks files with the state labor department. The employer is investigated and ordered to pay back wages. The human side of breaks aren't just a perk, they're essential for health and safety. Without them, fatigue increases accidents, errors, and stress. Workers denied breaks often report burnout, dehydration, and even injuries. That's why states like California and Oregon have strong protections. Example: a nurse required to work 12 hours without a break makes a medical error. Stronger enforcement of break laws could have prevented the risk to both the worker and the patient. The bigger picture. The patchwork of U.S. break laws creates inequality. Workers in California enjoy strict protections, while those in Texas rely only on federal standards, which don't mandate breaks. This inconsistency fuels debates about whether the U.S. should adopt a national standard for rest and meal breaks, similar to other countries. So, can your employer refuse to give you breaks at work? Under federal law, yes, because the FLSA does not require breaks. But if your state mandates them, as in California, New York, Oregon, or Colorado, then no, your employer must comply. Even in states without mandates, if employers offer short breaks, they must pay for them. And special protections exist for nursing mothers, medical conditions, and unionized workers. The bottom line, your right to breaks depends heavily on state law and employer policy. Knowing those rules empowers you to demand what you're entitled to. If this video clarified your rights, share it with coworkers. Everyone deserves to know when rest time is a legal right and when it's just company policy.